Ever find yourself thanking your phone when it like gets you to that new coffee shop without a hitch?
Yeah.
Or maybe you've given your car a name,
Right.
or even like a personality.
Sure.
Today we're going deep on something
Okay.
that's both totally mundane, but also surprisingly mind-bending. Our relationships with all the objects around us.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
It really is.
Okay.
Especially now
Yeah.
that we're practically like swimming in smart devices.
Right.
We're diving into a 2024 research paper that
Okay.
tackles this very thing.
Okay.
How different academic theories
Okay.
explain our interactions with everyday things,
Gotcha.
particularly in our tech-saturated world.
Okay, so the paper
Yeah.
we're looking at
Yeah.
dives into this debate
Yeah.
that's been simmering
Yes.
in academic circles.
Sounds right.
The idea that objects aren't just passive bystanders.
Right.
They're really involved
Yeah. They're not just inert.
in our lives.
Exactly. For a long time, the dominant view,
Okay.
what they call the human-centric perspective, was that we are the ones imbuing objects with meaning.
Okay.
Objects themselves,
Yeah.
seen as neutral, inanimate.
Right.
But this research explores some alternative perspectives.
So it's not just about us projecting feelings onto our teddy bears.
No,
There might be more to the story.
there's more to it than that.
Okay.
Exactly. The paper spends some time on what it calls object humanization.
Okay.
Basically how we tend to give objects human-like qualities. This isn't exactly a new idea. Think about how people name their cars.
Right.
Or yell at their computers.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of fascinating research in this area.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this research.
Well, there's the CFA paradigm,
Okay.
which stands for computers are social actors. This was a big one back in the 90s.
Right.
Researchers found that people actually apply social rules
Interesting.
to how they interact with computers, even though they know it's just a machine.
So even back then, we were kind of treating tech like it was part of our social circle.
Yeah, in a way.
But I imagine smartphones have taken this whole thing to another level, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Smartphones are with us constantly.
Right.
They offer companionship, in a way, even emotional support for some. There's a newer paradigm that's emerged around this.
Okay.
The SASA paradigm.
Okay.
For smartphones as almost human companions.
Okay, so we've gone from viewing objects as tools to treating them like buddies,
Yeah.
at least subconsciously.
Consciously, for sure.
But the research paper doesn't stop there, does it?
It keeps going.
Goes even deeper down the rabbit hole.
Deeper down the rabbit hole, you're right.
Yeah.
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
We're moving into the territory of post-humanist perspectives.
Okay.
And these challenge us to consider that objects might actually have their own form of agency.
Okay.
They might not just be passive recipients of our projections.
Hold on, we're talking about objects having a life of their own here.
In a sense, yeah.
Like my coffee mug has opinions on my choice of beverage.
Well, it might not be about like conscious opinions.
Okay.
But these theories suggest a much more active role for objects
Okay.
in shaping our world and experiences.
Right, I'm intrigued. So how do these post-humanist perspectives actually play out?
Well,
What are some of the specific theories they're grappling with?
so the research focuses on three main theories within this post-humanist camp.
Okay.
Object-oriented ontology, actor network theory,
Okay.
and assemblage theory.
Those sound a bit like something out of a sci-fi novel.
They do.
Let's start with object-oriented ontology. What's that all about?
Object-oriented ontology, or OOT for short, is a bit of a mind bender.
Okay.
It suggests that objects exist independently of us, with their own internal world and their own way of influencing the world around them.
So even if humans weren't around, objects would still be out there doing their thing.
Yeah, that's the fundamental idea.
Wow.
Think of it like a forest ecosystem.
Okay.
OOT would argue that even without humans to observe it,
Yeah.
the trees, rocks, and animals continue to interact and exert influence on each other.
Right.
Their existence isn't dependent on human perception or interaction.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. But how does this apply to, say, my phone?
Okay.
It's not exactly a force of nature, or is
Well,
it?
That's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
Who would say your phone, with all its intricate components and software,
Yay.
has its own internal logic, its own way of being in the world. It might not be conscious in the way we think of it.
Okay.
But it still exerts an influence.
Okay.
Shaping your habits, your interactions, even your thoughts.
Wow, that's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
It is a different way of thinking about it.
So it's not just that I depend on my phone. My phone, in a way, also depends on me.
In a way, yes.
And continues to exist whether I'm using it or not.
Right. It continues to exist.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean your phone is about to develop sentience.
Okay.
And start making its own plans for world domination or anything.
Well, that's a relief.
Right.
Although a phone organizing my day does sound oddly appealing.
Yeah, I can see that.
But the point is, who asks us to reconsider the traditional hierarchy?
Yes.
We often place between humans and objects.
It challenges that hierarchy for sure.
It suggests a more level playing field where objects have their own agency and impact.
Exactly.
Whether we're aware of it or not.
Whether we realize it or not.
This is definitely giving me a new perspective on my relationship with my stuff.
Yeah.
But we've only scratched the surface of these post-humanist theories, haven't we?
We've got more to explore.
What about that second one, actor network theory?
Right.
What's that all about?
Actor network theory, or ANT, takes a slightly different approach.
Okay.
It suggests that agency, the ability to act and make things happen, isn't something inherent in humans or objects.
Okay.
Instead, ANT argues that agency emerges from the relationships and connections within a network.
So it's not about objects versus humans. It's about how we're all caught up in this web of interactions, all pushing and pulling on each other.
Precisely.
Okay.
ANT sees humans and objects as equal players in a network, constantly influencing and being influenced by each other.
Yep.
It's like a complex dance where the movements of one partner affect the other.
Gotcha.
Creating a constantly evolving dynamic.
So with ANT, it's not objects versus humans.
No.
It's more about we're all interconnected.
It's about the connections.
Influencing each other.
Yes.
In this grand network of relationships.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that network isn't just limited to the physical world.
Okay.
Think about social media, for example.
Right.
You've got the platform itself.
Yeah.
The algorithms, the users, the devices, the content.
Right.
All interacting and shaping each other.
Yeah.
In this complex dance.
It's like that butterfly effect thing.
Yes.
But instead of a butterfly flapping its wings, it's me liking a friend's vacation photo that ends up influencing what I buy online next week.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
ANT helps us see these connections.
Okay.
And understand how influence flows in sometimes unexpected ways within these networks.
Okay.
It's not always a straight line from point A to point B.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this theory could be useful.
Yeah.
For understanding our increasingly complex world.
It's a helpful lens.
But we've got one more theory on the list, right?
We're not done yet.
Assemblage theory.
Yes.
How does that fit into all of this?
So assemblage theory takes some of the ideas from ANT.
Okay.
The interconnectedness, the blurring of boundaries, and pushes them even further.
Okay.
It sees the world as made up of these constantly shifting assemblages of humans and non-humans, all coming together and coming apart in dynamic ways.
So it's like those moving sculptures where the pieces are always rearranging themselves, creating new forms and patterns.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
And those new forms, they have their own properties and potentialities that emerge from the specific combination of elements within the assemblage.
Can you give me an example of how that might play out in real life?
Think about a city.
Okay.
It's not just a collection of buildings and streets.
Right.
It's an assemblage of people, infrastructures, technologies, ideas, histories, all interacting and shaping each other in ways that are constantly evolving.
Yeah.
The city itself takes on a life of its own.
Wow.
Beyond any one individual or element.
That's a really interesting way to think about it.
Yeah. It's a different perspective.
So it's not just about the individual parts.
Right.
It's how they come together
to
create something larger than themselves.
Exactly. And this applies to so many aspects of our lives.
Okay.
Think about the food we eat.
Okay.
It's an assemblage of ingredients, cultural traditions, agricultural practices, global trade networks.
Wow.
Or the clothes we wear.
Okay.
They embody design aesthetics, manufacturing processes, social trends, and personal styles.
Right.
Everything is interconnected.
So we got these three theories.
Yes. Great.
Urging us to consider the independent existence of objects.
Their own inherent being.
ANT highlighting this web of relationships.
That's right.
And assemblage theory focusing on the dynamic interplay.
Yes.
And emergent properties of those connections.
It's a lot to consider.
It's a lot to wrap our heads around.
It is.
But the big question is, what does all of this actually mean for us?
That's the question, isn't it?
How we navigate the world.
How do we make sense of it all?
Right.
That's where this research really shines.
Okay.
It argues that these theories, while seemingly abstract, are crucial for understanding our increasingly tech-driven world.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to things like virtual influencers.
Right.
Artificial intelligence. And the metaverse.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay.
How do these theories connect to those very real, very present technologies?
Let's start with object humanization.
Okay.
When you think about what makes a virtual influencer appealing, or why we give AI assistants names, it's clear we're looking for some kind of connection.
We are.
Even though we know they're not human, we can't help but project human-like qualities onto them.
It's like we're hardwired to form bonds.
It seems like it.
Even if it's with lines of code.
Right.
Dressed up to look like our favorite celebrity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these theories help us understand why we do that.
Okay.
What needs it fulfills for us.
Okay.
But then steps in and asks, what if these virtual entities aren't just puppets, so to speak?
Right.
What if they have their own kind of consumption or experience that's different from ours?
Okay.
But valid nonetheless.
Whoa. So AI isn't just responding to our needs.
It makes you wonder.
It could have desires of its own.
It's a question worth considering.
That's both intriguing and a little unnerving.
It is a bit of both, isn't it?
It is.
What happens when AI starts to shape its own environment?
Yeah.
To consume information and resources.
Yeah.
In ways that we hadn't anticipated.
Right.
Does that change how we view its role in our lives?
Definitely gives a whole new meaning to the term smart technology.
It does make you think.
But you mentioned the metaverse, too.
Yes.
How do these theories help us understand that whole virtual world phenomenon?
Think about how the metaverse blurs the lines between the physical and the digital.
Yeah.
Between our online personas and our offline lives.
Right.
It's a perfect example of what A&T describes.
Okay.
A complex network where humans and non-humans, in this case avatars, virtual objects, and the metaverse platform itself, are constantly interacting and influencing each other.
So it's not just a game we're playing.
It's more than just a game.
Our actions in the metaverse can have real-world consequences.
They can.
Vice versa.
Exactly. And that's where assemblage theory comes in.
Okay.
To remind us that it's not just about individual objects or even human-object pairs anymore.
Okay.
It's the entire ecosystem.
Right.
The virtual world.
Yeah.
The AI, our own desires.
Yeah.
All tangled up together.
Right.
In these complex, ever-shifting assemblages.
It's like all these lines are getting blurrier and blurrier.
Yeah, the boundaries are definitely getting fuzzier.
So with all this...
That's a cute way to put it.
With all these entangled relationships and this blurring between humans and objects, what does it actually mean to be human in this increasingly tech-driven world?
That's the question, isn't it?
Right.
I mean, these theories don't necessarily give us like a clear-cut answer.
Right.
But they offer us new frameworks for understanding how we relate to the world around us.
So it's less about fearing the robot uprising and more about recognizing how deeply intertwined our lives are with technology and the objects we create.
Exactly. It's about questioning our assumptions.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, paying attention to the subtle ways that objects shape our experiences and recognizing the agency that exists in unexpected places.
It's almost like these objects, especially the smart ones, are becoming active participants in writing the story of our lives.
I like that.
And we're just starting to understand the language they're using.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out how to read them.
Yeah, exactly.
What's important to remember is this isn't about like giving up our own agency or becoming slaves to our devices. It's about understanding the complex interplay between humans and objects and recognizing that it's a two-way street.
So as we design new technologies and invite more smart objects into our lives, it's worth asking ourselves.
That's a good question.
What kind of relationship do we want to have with these things?
Yeah. How do we want to live with these things?
How can we shape those relationships in ways that are beneficial and meaningful for everyone.
For everybody involved.
It's a lot to ponder.
It is.
We've gone from thanking our coffee mugs to contemplating the philosophical implications of a robot apocalypse.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of a good deep dive, isn't it?
That's what we do.
Always leaves you with more questions than answers.
It's about asking the questions.
And that's how we continue learning and growing.
It is.
By staying curious, asking those tough questions.
Keep learning.
And being open to new perspectives.
Exactly.
Well said. We'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this.
Yeah. Let us know what you think.
Have you ever stopped to consider the role objects play in your life?
What role do they play?
Or how your relationship with technology might be shaping your experiences?
Yeah. Tell us about it.
Share your thoughts with us.
We want to know.
We're always up for a good conversation.
Always.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep diving deep.
Keep questioning and keep diving deep.